Hello, in this video I will be discussing the Texas Education Standard number 5. And standard number 5 is over data-driven practice. And this standard is defined as teachers use formal and informal methods to assess student growth aligned to instructional goals and course objectives, and regularly review and analyze multiple sources of data to measure student progress and adjust instructional strategies and content delivery when needed. The part that struck me the most that I would like to discuss in this video is under Section C. Section C states that teachers regularly collect, review, and analyze data to monitor student progress. And so that's something I've definitely had growth in over this semester. Section 1 of C says teachers analyze and review data in a timely, thorough, accurate, and appropriate manner, both individually and with colleagues, to monitor student learning. So something I've grown in is collaborative teaching. At Bullard Middle School, the three history or 8th grade history teachers all teach the same lessons. They work together as a team to create the lessons, and then they all teach the same thing and stay together. And so all 8th graders are getting these same lessons, just taught from a different perspective by how that specific teacher might want to do it. So every day during 5th period we have conference time. The teachers gather together and we discuss the lesson plans upcoming for the next week, what we're going to be doing, any problems that might arise. And so there's a lot of collaborative work going on between these teachers, and I've never really seen something quite like this in the school. So that's some growth I've definitely seen in myself as working with them as well. They've asked for my input, and so I've been grateful to be a part of this team. Now under C, the second section says teachers combine results from different measures to develop a holistic picture of students' strengths and learning needs. And so looking at how we analyze data, there's a lot of different ways we do that at Bullard Middle School. The main way the school uses is a program called DMAC, and that's where they input all the checkpoint scores. So that's kind of like a 9 weeks test, and this is what the school board looks at. This is the data that they look at. We have our in-service days. This is the data the school uses to discuss. The whole school looks at everyone's data, and so that's the checkpoint data. But we also, within the classroom, we have a lot of different ways we analyze students' data and how we can maybe redirect or maybe reteach a certain thing, analyze where students are and understanding the material. And for my artifact, I'm actually going to demonstrate one specific program we use called Guru, and I'm actually going to switch over to and display the other a video of the screen and kind of show you some things about Guru and prove why this artifact is a great tool when monitoring student data. Okay, so this is Guru right here. This is what the teacher page looks like. And so the cool thing about Guru is you can import questions based off specific TEKs, and you can track that data, and you can monitor how students are responding to certain TEKs, or maybe how they're understanding specific content from the classroom. And so I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly, but Miss Nick has already created a class, American History, and she's imported different units from the past years. And so looking at this, we've actually do this as a bell ringer, so these students will come and answer a few questions every week, and we can analyze what the students do and do not understand specifically. So one thing I wanted to talk about is a quiz we had them take in the last unit when we were back in colonial America. And we actually used this quiz, it was a 10-question quiz, to assess whether which students understood the TEKs and the content from the last unit. And we actually used this data. So these are the questions that she imported in. This is kind of what it might look like. I'll see if I pull this up. Okay, which of the following is not a motive for Spanish exploration in the world? All right. So this is kind of the objectives of this quiz. And we use this quiz to identify which students were in Tier 2 and needed more intervention. And we actually pulled out students, Tier 2 students, that didn't meet a specific requirement from this quiz and had them do an extra review before the last exam. So that's one of the cool things we use this data for. was actually to identify and provide extra service for Tier 2 students. And so I'm just going to show you real quick in this program. I wish I had more time, but I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to show you how we can look at data from this. All right, so we're going to go to Colonial America and look at this quiz specifically, and I'm going to actually pull this off my screen for just a second so the students' names don't accidentally pop up. Yeah, and so then I'm going to pull over Launch Anonymous. So this is what these scores from the quiz ended up looking like. All right, so the 10-question quiz, and then this is the anonymous mode, so can't see the students' names. There's one student that hasn't taken the quiz, and then this is what the green is the correct, the red is the incorrect, and we can see each student's individual score, the class average, and then there's even more, again, more detailed analysis of the data based on the specific questions and the TEKS, and you can look at that. So this is just one program we can use in the classroom on a daily basis that the teachers use to identify and look at what students may or may not be understanding. And we actually use this data to pull out some students for intervention. And there's other ways we use this data as well. We use data from another test, not to actually have to spend another day reteaching a specific topic. But this is just kind of a simple run through of Guru. This is why I feel like it's justified as my artifact, though, is because I didn't know programs like this existed. This is a great tool to use, and I've learned how to use it to see, to understand how we can compare the students' data. You can track their data over time and looking at it from the beginning to the current unit. You can look at how they score on each specific part. And so this is just a great tool, great artifact that I think demonstrates my understanding of working with other teachers, looking at the data and making corrections whenever needed. And so that's Guru in a nutshell. I wish I had more time. And now I'm going to switch back over to my other screen. And the last thing I'd like to look at under Standard 5 is Section D. Teachers utilize the data they collect and analyze to inform their instructional strategies and adjust short and long-term plans accordingly. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, we actually got some data back from a test, and we realized that student understanding on one specific topic was not very high, and so we actually had to spend some more time on that after the test, going back over it, because it was important for the students to understand and know this topic before moving on. And so things like that, as well as just unexpected things the school does, sometimes puts teachers behind. And I've learned that you got to be flexible in this field. That's always sticking to your specific scope and sequence, or how you've planned out the year, isn't always going to work and isn't always the best thing for the students. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to adjust, and you got to look at the data and see where they need help, what you need to maybe go back and reteach, and you shouldn't be afraid of that. And so that's just something I've had to learn to grow in. You can't expect students just to understand everything the first time sometimes. And so I'm looking forward to learning more and more about student data. I haven't got to necessarily look at it a whole lot being a clinical teacher, but I understand all the resources out there now, and I get to kind of a small glimpse of what is available. And so I'm just looking forward to diving more into these resources and seeing how teachers collect these data, how they analyze it, how they work together to produce new ideas and new ways to change how the lessons are taught. And so that's just some of my observations and some of my growth I've seen in this specific content over data-driven practices. And that is all I really have to say. So I will end this video now.